and welcome to From Inside Out Ministry. I am the Lady Shawnnette. Let me ask you a question. Could things be the way they are because you are the way you are? And if so, what one thing could you change that could change everything? Well, I want to give you that opportunity to explore just that. I'm here to invite you to join me on a next 40-day journey towards authentic living. And you may ask, what is authentic living? Well, authentic living is simply living true from the inside out, whereby discovering who you are outside of all the many roles you play, and ultimately discovering who God has designed and equipped you to be. You know, I am still amazed at how exhilarating, empowering, and especially liberating it is when one discovers and embraces their true purpose. I tell you, this journey is nothing less than transforming. So come, go with me on this fantastic voyage. But wait, don't take my word for it. Let's take a few minutes to listen to some dynamic women who's journeyed this before you.
The 40-day journey was absolutely worth the time and the effort. I think there's a saying that, you're going to get out of something what you invest into it. So I think the scripture is you reap what you sow. So I went into this knowing full-handedly, I think I was at an advantage because, again, it was for me, it was an answer to prayer, but you have to dig deep. You have to be willing to dig deep. It can't just be an exercise that you go through each week. Otherwise, it's meaningless, and it's just another small group. For me, I've always believed in being a person of transparency and healing. So when I'd get those tough questions that, who am I outside of the roles I played in life? That really took some thought because I defined myself a lot by the roles that I played. I was, was a spouse, or I was a wife, I was a mom, I was, daughter, sister, friend. And, where God clearly showed me, if I remove all of these roles from you, who are you, Mary? So understanding that and digging deep into those questions and becoming willing to really ask God to help me search my own heart. It was worth every moment that I spent. The relationships that I built with women, it speaks for itself. Where we're still interacting and we're still able to feed each other, and it was a great experience, and it really allowed me to become as what one of the chapters.
For me, the 40-day soul fast was a gift from God, I'd say. Mostly because He knows what He has in store for us, and He had some big changes in my life, especially, and He just gracefully told me, you should go. And I had no idea what it was all about, but I think really it's just one of those things where He wants you to be a willing vessel. And I'm so glad that I did, because in the transition that we were going through in my life and my sister's life was a pretty big one, and He just eased it right on through because of that.
So prior to participating in my first soul fast, I was already saved. I had walked as a Christian for about 10 years, but I still didn't know who I was, and the condition of my heart needed some help, to say the least. I had a huge superwoman complex. I felt like I could handle it all, that I would carry the world on my shoulders, and that it wasn't going to break me. But from that, I grew bitter and angry and had resentment in my heart towards the people who were closest to me. When I started going through the 40-day soul fast, I uncovered things about myself that I had to come to terms with. It was no longer me just saying, well, this is what someone thinks of me, I'm not this way. I had to ask myself those hard questions, and I had to answer them. And with that, I began to grow and change who I am. and I started to become the woman that God wants me to be.
I think the 40-day soul fast was a gift. You know, even when being offered at first, you know, you don't know what to make of it. And then you realize that God really was giving it to you, and because he knows better than we do. A lot of times he knows what we need before we do. And in a sense, that's really what it was for us. Knowing that there were things that could have held us back from a glorious future. And to know that he was enabling us, he was preparing us. And so each stage in life, sometimes we don't know where to go or know what it is we're gonna need to do. And so just knowing that he has a big future for all of us, and 40-day soul fast was a really great way to look inward and prepare for what he can do outward. I really like the fact that it opens up a lot of communication between people and thinking and talking about things that we wouldn't normally think or talk about, but that need to be talked about and worked through. So it's really encouraging to know that everybody is going through something similar, where even though it can look, the circumstances of things are completely different, we all have, you know, human hearts, and we all encounter sin, and we all encounter the same essence of humanity. And so to know that we can all work through it together was something really, really neat, to be able to in our own differences, to see similarities.
But doing it with Shawnnette and the group of women was really, really a good thing, because you come around such beautiful women, very different. Everybody has their own stories, but we're all there to just kind of uplift and support and worship our mighty God all together in whatever story we're in. So these women are just major encouragements, very, very wise people, and I think it's good just to be able to see the work in, not just in my own life, but what's around me. And so I thought it was a beautiful thing for me to be able to do, and I would absolutely do it again.
What would you say to someone considering taking this journey?
Okay. What I would say to someone considering this journey is we're all dealing with something, and we're lying to ourselves if we say that we're not. There's another saying, and I'm so huge on sayings because I need those one-liners, but if nothing changes, nothing changes. So what that means for me is that I can stay stuck in the situation that I'm in. I can continue to process the way that I'm processing it. And don't get me wrong, walking the journey with God was great. I mean, he is your master trainer, and he will get you there. But you know, the Bible also talks about community, and we need, for me, I need accountability.
I would first ask them, are you ready for change? Most people say they want to see something different in their life, but they don't have the courage or the boldness to walk it out. And you'll be forced to change your life. It's just the way the program is designed. It's just the way the women that are around you that are going to love and nurture you through the process. So I would say, be ready for a life-changing experience if this is what you're really ready to do.
To somebody considering joining this, I would say go for it. As long as the Holy Spirit is leading you and guiding you, I wouldn't see why He wouldn't put you down this path. It's just an amazing breakthrough that you can go with other people. You're not alone, and there's people around you to be there for you. So go head on, because there's people, there's God, and that's all you need. So go for it. What?
I think back to kind of what was said when I first, became involved, and it was a little intimidating because everybody was talking about how transformative it is, and it is, but in a way you're not going to expect. And so I would just say, be prepared for the unexpected, because you're not gonna find out things about yourself that maybe are completely bogus, but you're gonna find those hidden deep things that we don't want to really look at. So just be prepared to really dig deep and to find things that you're gonna want to be free of, that you don't want to keep with you, and that you have a glorious future ahead of you.
What would you say was the most surprising thing you learned about yourself?
That everything that I was created to do was already given to me, and it wasn't something that I was it wasn't something that I had to work for. It was already there, and it was there from, the Bible says, the beginning of time. So God knew my purpose in life, and He knew exactly what I was going to need for that. So it wasn't a coincidence that I had the parents that I had. It wasn't a coincidence that I was born into the environment that I was born into, because He had given me everything that I would need to conquer every single one of those circumstances. And, I love that, God, I love it. He's a God of hide and seek, His favorite game in the world. And discovering those things about me and finding, wow, this is really something this has been a talent that's been prevalent in my life for all of these years. Now, how do I apply that? How do I move forward and live that out?
About myself, the most surprising thing. That I think it is that, there was more going on with me than I realized. Sometimes we get into a habit or a pattern, even with God, and we don't realize that we're more flawed than we realize. A lot of times, we like to think, I've got this, we've got it together, I'm good. And we don't realize that maybe we're not as good as we think we are. So, and that's a good thing. I think that those times of feeling good can be deceptive, and it's like a false sense of security. And I'd rather have the sense of knowing I'm where God has me than have a false sense of security. So it's really freeing to know that we might not be perfect and we might not be okay, but it's encouraging to know that we can grow.
There were a lot of surprising things. I will say surprising as far as I worked in an office environment, and I was a sweet person, or am a sweet person, but I learned that I hold a grudge against bosses or other people, and it could actually kind of, look like hate, which is not a good thing. And so a person growing up with having a faith never thought that you could actually come to the point where you could actually loathe somebody, and I found that I did. And so it's just, again, God is merciful in revealing that to me. He humbled me, allowed me to forgive, and
After going through the 40-day soul fast, what were some of the things you took away?
And the biggest change that I have made, and from what I learned, was doing the Word daily. Going before the Lord daily, studying the Word daily. The fast is designed where there's something for you to do on a daily basis. And so you get into the routine of constantly being in the presence of the Holy Spirit and going before the Lord. And so when the soul fast is done, you don't want to be done with that, because you've already established this relationship that you're yearning for now.
a specific thing in the book that talked about, I won't give any of that away, but it did talk about your thoughts, positive, negative, and letting things nest in your mind. And almost every day I think about that, where something is going in my mind, I'm not going to let it nest if it's not from God. So I kick it out and I keep positive. I always look to God. And so it's just one of those things where I think that was a very good thing from the 40-day soul fast was, again, you work on you and you need to work on your thoughts. And I definitely wanted to keep doing that every single day, waking up and knowing that I can work on me. And that's one thing, was working on my own thoughts.
Say it, church.
Well, I'm sure you've gone through other women groups or small groups. Can you tell me what the difference is between those groups you attended and this 40-day soul fast journey?
So the difference with this group versus other groups that I've gone to, and I've gone to some pretty committed groups in terms of, I've been through a women's recovery group where you get asked a lot of tough questions, but I think that the setting for this, just creating the setting of intimacy and setting those expectations up front, that we expect you to be here, and we expect you to share, and it's not because we're going to go and spread your business to everybody else, but because we want you to heal. So I think if you're going to make the investment, definitely, go into it with an open heart and be ready to heal. Have a goal. What is it that you want from this group? And those things were outlined for me in the very beginning.
It's difference in the 40-day soul fast in comparison to other programs I've attended in the past, either through church or other Bible study groups. Number one, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, it is led by Miss Shawnnette Braxton, who is the most powerful God-fearing woman that I know in my life. And the atmosphere that is created welcomes the Holy Spirit. So when you enter in, even to their home, wherever the meetings are held, you're entering into the presence of the Lord, and automatically chains are broken. You don't even know what you're experiencing it until after you take a step back and realize, I just had a transformation. And when God is given the ability to move, big things happen. And that is the major difference between what I have experienced here with the 40-day soul fast than other church groups and other small groups that I've even been a part of.
I think it's different because this group wants transparency. We don't have to come with a story of how great everything is. We don't have to pretend everything's fine. And it's not about pointing fingers or telling ourselves how bad we are, but it's about finding freedom and knowing that we all have things to deal with, and if we don't, really look at those things for what they are, we'll never grow. So it's a really great group to be able to know we can learn and we can grow and we can become that glorious creation that God originally had in mind. And I think that that's really great. Instead of having to, dwell in what we are, it causes us to rise up.
Oh, this is very different, but in the best kind of way. Again, women, we all have different stories and different backgrounds, very, very different, and it doesn't make anybody less than the other person. And so when we come together, again, it's a very different force. I think it's God bringing a bunch of women that are thirsty for Him and hungry for Him and are ready to break walls in their own lives and in each other's. So apart from any other group, I think this one's very much more just head on and let's meet it and let's actually break it. Instead of just kind of praying or tiptoeing around it, we're ready to smash. So it's kind of a warrior group, I guess. So it's really cool.
Absolutely 100%, 1,000 times over. It is more than worth the 8 or 9 weeks that you invest in your life to be a part of the 40-day soul fast.
Well, lady, there you have it. If you have the courage to be challenged, to learn, to grow, and develop in ways you could never have imagined, then I truly want you to join me on this journey. And I promise you will never be the same. So now, what are you waiting on? Go and register today at FIOministries.org. I look forward to us journeying together. Until then, be blessed. And remember, real change happens from the inside out.
From the tip of my toes to the top of my head, and they're gonna know I'm yours. From the tip of my toes to the top of my head, and they're gonna